So, welcome everyone. My name is Micki, and this is Yoga in the Park. So, go ahead and come to lying on your back and or into any comfortable position. You can allow your knees to tent together, and you might allow your feet to walk as wide as the mat. And just allow yourself to arrive in this present moment. Starting to tune into your breath. You can allow your thoughts to clear. Allowing any thoughts of the past to dissipate and allowing your plans for the future to wait. If there was a specific intention that inspired you to come to class, you could bring that intention to mind and just allow it to plant itself at your heart center. And if you are looking for an idea for an intention, I do have a theme for today's class. This year, I've been studying the yamas and the niyamas, and I'm on to the third niyama. And these are yoga's ethical practices. So there are 5 yamas. Those are yoga's instructions on how we can best interact with the world. And then the niyamas are 5 jewels that are yoga's instructions on how we can best interact with ourselves. So the third jewel is called svadhyaya. It's really fun to say. You should try saying it in your mind. Svadhyaya. Svadhyaya means self-study. So I have a few quotes from the book by Deborah Adele. We are at the core divine consciousness. Around this pure consciousness, we are packed into boxes of our experiences, our conditioning, our belief systems. These boxes are things like how we identify ourselves, what we believe to be true, our preferences and dislikes, our fears and imagination. All of these boxes are informed by country, culture, gender, town, ancestry, family history, groups we belong to, and our personal experiences. Svadhyaya, or self-study, is about knowing our true identity as divine and understanding the boxes we are wrapped in. This process of knowing ourselves, the boxes that adorn us, creates a pathway to freedom. The ability to shift our identity from our ego self to the witness, and finally, our true identity as divinity itself, is the joy of this jewel of self-study. So if that idea of self-study speaks to you, you can allow that to be your intention for your practice today. And then you can allow that intention to plant itself at your heart center. And then release all thoughts. Coming into the sound of your own breath, tuning into the sounds of nature around you. Notice where you might be holding in your body or areas of your body that need special attention today. And because you are your very own best teacher, and this is your own practice, you can always feel free to modify anything I'm offering. Coming back to that intention of svadhyaya and the fact that you can choose your own adventure in this yoga class. If you'd like to invite a little bit of movement into the body now, let's go ahead and sway the knees from side to side. So with your next exhale, you can allow the knees to float over to one side Inhale them back to center and exhale to windshield wiper them over to the opposite side. And go ahead and take a few more rounds, following the pace of your own breath. You might alternately turn the gaze in the opposite direction of your knees and just notice what sensations come up for you in the body. Send gratitude into the hips, into the spine. You might even pause for a few rounds of breath on one side. And with that breath, just allow any tension to release from the body. Noticing where you might be having some extra effort. And then from here, when you feel balance from left to right, you can come back to center and then bring the knees up into the chest. Give yourself a nice big hug. You might wrap your nose up towards your knees, curling through the back of your neck. And then exhale, release the head back down, and we'll come into an upside down tabletop position. So you can press your palms up towards the sky, lift the knees up towards the sky, and have them at 90 degrees. You might notice that engagement in your core. And then if you'd like to find some movement here, you might inhale to reach your left arm and your right leg long, allowing them to hover. And then exhale, draw them back to center. Inhale to switch sides, reaching the right arm and left leg long to hover. And then exhale, drawing them back to center. Go ahead and follow the pace of your own breath in this upside down bird dog. See if you can press the low back towards the mat. And then we'll take one more round on each side. When you feel complete from left to right, you can drop your feet down to the mat, reach your arms up past your ears, and then extend your legs long to find a long body stretch from the fingertips to the heels. If you want to turn this into a side bend, you can reach your arms over to the right and then walk your feet over to the right, forming a banana shape with the body. You might grasp hold of the left hand, the left wrist with the right hand, or maybe even cross the left ankle over the right shin. Allow the breath to cascade down the side of the body. And then we'll come back to center, and you can walk the feet and hands over to the left, allowing the breath to sweep down the right side of the body. Maybe you grasp hold of your right wrist with your left hand. You could cross your right ankle over your left shin. Whenever you're ready, we'll come back to center And then once more, you can walk your feet in, draw your knees up towards your chest, tuck your chin towards your heart, and begin to rock and roll up and down the length of your spine. And then when you're ready, you can rock up to a seat, finding any comfortable seat that works best for you. Go ahead and close down the eyes for a moment. Allow the hands to rest on the knees. Lengthen through the spine and allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears. Come back to your intention for your practice and start to cultivate gratitude to yourself for showing up. And then we'll flicker the eyes open and you can bring the hands onto the shoulders. With your next inhale, we'll sweep the elbows up and around and then exhale them back and down. Inhale to continue to sweep them up. Exhale, roll them back and down. And just feeling that movement in the shoulder joint and sending gratitude into the shoulders. Noticing the body's intelligence to lubricate the joints. And then when you're ready, we'll reverse the direction. So come back to stillness. And then you can start to reach your elbows back and up and around and down in front. And then when you're ready, you can come back to stillness. Leave the hands on the shoulders. And then with your next inhale, turn to the left and exhale, turn to the right. Inhale, turn to the left. Exhale, turn to the right. And you can continue at this pace, or you might speed up the breath and the movement, cultivating a breath of fire. So for sharp inhales and sharp exhales through the nose. When you're ready, you can gently come back to stillness, release the hands onto the knees, close the eyes, allow the shoulders to melt down away from the ears. Just tune into the breath and the sensations that have arisen from that activity. When you're ready, we'll flutter the eyes open. And you can lean back and switch out the cross of your legs. Sometimes we sit in habitual patterns, so it might feel a little awkward. Now, when you arrive in center, we're going to go ahead and bow the head towards the heart. You might feel the length through the back of the neck. Take a nice deep breath here, and on your next exhale, you can float the right ear over towards the right shoulder. You might sigh out through the mouth and just notice if there's any tension living along the left side of the neck. Just allow the breath to cascade down the side of the neck, melting the left ear away from the left shoulder. And then we'll begin to invite a little bit of movement. So you might begin to gently nod your head yes. And then coming back to stillness, you can gently begin to shake your head no. And then once more, coming back to stillness, you can take one more nice deep breath here. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and bow your head once more towards your heart. You can take a deep breath here. And then on your next exhale, allow the left ear to fall over towards the left shoulder, melting the right shoulder away from the ear. You might sigh on this side, releasing any tension from the side of the neck. And then go ahead and find some gentle movements when you're ready, gently nodding the head yes. And then whenever you're ready, moving to gently shake the head no. And then you can release that movement, find stillness for a breath. And with your next exhale, allow your head to gently bow once more towards your heart. And then we'll inhale to lift the head back to center. Let's interlace the fingers at the heart center, and you can start to draw a few figure eights with the wrists. I like to warm up through my wrists before I come on to hands and knees. And then when you're ready, you can reverse the direction of your figure eights, all the while sending breath and gratitude towards the wrists. And then when you're ready, release that, and you can shake out your hands. And then we'll either roll over the tops of your shins, or you can just spin your feet around to come into hands and knees. So you can plant the palms underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. And then with your next inhale, go ahead and drop the belly for cow pose. And exhale, round the spine in the cat. And go ahead and follow the pace of your own breath. And explore any movements that feel good. Maybe you take a few rounds of cat and cow. And then after a few rounds, you might decide to explore any other movements that might feel good in the body. Maybe tracing a big circle with the belly button. Feeling free to pause anywhere that you find needs special attention. You might spend an extra breath in stillness, just observing, noticing, witnessing the body with compassion and curiosity. And if you started drawing a circle with the belly button, you're welcome to reverse that circle whenever you're ready. Let's take one more round in whichever direction you're going. And then we'll meet back in a neutral spine. You can start to draw the belly button to the spine, engaging with the core. And then go ahead on the next inhale and lift the left knee out to the side. This is called fire hydrant pose. Exhale to lower the knee back down to hover over the earth, We'll just do that 2 more times on this side. So inhale to lift the knee up to hover. Exhale to lower it down to hover. One more time on this side. And then exhale to release that side. We'll switch sides now. So you're going to bring the opposite knee just to hover over the earth and then lift it up to the side for fire hydrant pose. Exhale to lower it down to hover. Inhale to lift. And just one more time on this side. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. You can bring the big toes to touch. Walk the knees a little bit wider than hips distance. And then you can sink the hips back and walk the hands out in front, lowering your forehead down to the mat for child's pose. Once you arrive in your child's pose, if you want to release any extra heat from the body or tension, you might exhale through the mouth, maybe sticking out the tongue for lion's breath. Noticing if there's any tension that wants to release from the jaw or the temples. Notice if there's any residual tension in the back, and you might imagine it like drips of water. Allow it to gently glide off of the back, seeping into the earth. Take one more nice deep breath in your child's pose. And then we'll meet up in hands and knees, but you can leave your knees a little wide like child's pose. We're going to get ready for thread the needle. So you can bring your left fingertips right behind your left ear. And then with your next exhale, go ahead and turn that elbow down towards the right wrist. Inhale, you can sweep the elbow up towards the sky, lifting the heart and the gaze. And then exhale, we'll bring the elbow down towards the wrist. Inhale to open the heart, lifting the elbow. And one more time like this. Exhale, draw the elbow towards the wrist. And then on this inhale, as you lift the elbow, you can reach the fingertips up towards the sky. And then on your next exhale, you'll flutter that hand down and come into thread the needle, bringing the elbow or the shoulder onto the mat, allowing the temple to rest. And you can stay right here, supporting your weight with your right hand. Or if you prefer, you can walk your right fingertips out in front like child's pose. Or maybe you lift the right hand and you spin that hand around, and you can allow the back of the hand to rest at the low back. Neither option is superior, so just use your own judgment. Notice with Svadhyaya what works best for you and your body. These aren't like level 1, 2, 3, right? Just options and variations to explore. Send some nice deep breaths into the upper back and shoulder. You might feel that gentle pressure against your temple, and just notice if there's tension that you can release with your breath. We'll take one more nice deep breath here, and then you can bring that right hand back down to the mat, press it underneath your shoulder, and then on your next inhale, press into the right hand as you open up through the left. lifting the heart and lifting the gaze. And then on your next exhale, we'll bring the left hand back down, and you can bring the right fingertips to the edge of your right ear. And then exhale, we'll draw the elbow down towards the wrist. Inhale, sweep the right elbow up towards the sky. And 2 more times like this. Exhale, bringing the elbow down towards the wrist. Inhale to sweep it up. And 1 more time. This time you can float the arm back up towards the sky. And then exhale, we'll thread the needle under, coming onto the shoulder, resting the temple. And finding whichever arm variation suits you best on this side. So you can continue to support yourself with your left hand or walk the left fingertips out in front like child's pose. Or maybe it feels good to spin the left hand around and allow it to rest at the low back. I'm just noticing how this can be different from side to side, day to day. And just allowing yourself to observe those differences from left to right and day to day with kindness and compassion. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then with your next exhale, if your hand is resting on your low back, you can bring it back down to the mat. And then we'll press into that palm and open back up. Exhale to lower the hand back down. And then let's bring the knees together. And you can tuck the toes under and start to walk the hands back. Maybe you come onto your fists, or maybe you come to sitting on your heels. So this is called broken toe pose, but one of my teachers calls it blissful toe pose, which sounds a little not so harsh. So find whatever works best for you. You're finding some gratitude, sensation in the feet, stretching through the toes. You can always find it a little bit more gentle by bringing your hands or your fists down to the mat. And then whenever you're ready, we're gonna walk it forward into our tabletop, untuck the toes, and you can give them a gentle tap. Now let's come onto our forearms. And you can either bring your forearms to press onto the hands on the mat, or you can interlace the hands. Let's slide the left leg back. You're gonna tuck the toes under and then press the heel towards the mat, finding length through the back of your leg, your calf. Imagining the breath like the wave of an ocean, smoothing down the back of your leg. And then when you're ready, we're gonna switch sides. So you can bring the left knee back and then tuck the right toes under, extend the right leg back behind you, pressing your heel towards the mat, finding length through the back of your calf. And then we're going to turn this into a forearm plank. So you can either stay on the knees. You can slide both legs back and keep the knees lifted, or you can lower the knees down for a little more support. And just feel free to hold whichever version of plank for as many breaths as you'd like. Whenever you feel done with your plank, you can always gently lower onto your belly, untuck your toes, plant your forearms and find yourself in Sphinx Pose. Once you find yourself in Sphinx Pose, really plant down into your hands and drag them energetically back as you reach the heart forward to find a gentle back bend. And then when you're ready, we'll find Crocodile Pose by stacking the palms. You're going to swing the elbows out in front and you can lower your forehead down onto the mat. Resting your forehead on the back of your hands and allowing the back of your body to fill with breath. I've heard it said that our back body is our seat of self-care. Just imagine the breath filling the back of the body. Allowing yourself to relax all effort, feeling the earth rise to support you. And then when you're ready, we're going to spin the hands back behind you with the palms face up. And you can turn your gaze over to the right. If your temple doesn't quite make it to the mat, you might tuck your toes under and then gently glide your body a little bit further forward to make a little bit of space so that your temple might meet the mat. Allow yourself a moment to soften all of your effort here. Feeling the hug of gravity. And then with your next inhale, we're going to float the gaze forward, lift the arms, lift the legs to come into a flying superhero position. Allowing yourself to balance on the belly, using the strength of your spine and your core to hold you up. Noticing where you can balance your effort and your ease. Take a few deep breaths here, and then we'll turn the gaze to the left and soften your right ear towards the mat. Allowing your arms to relax, your feet to relax. Allow yourself to feel held and supported. And take a moment to delight in this time of rest. On the next inhale, we'll lift the gaze back to center and you can bring the palms underneath the shoulders. And then we'll inhale to lift the heart for a baby cobra. Exhale to soften. And then you can tuck the toes under and press up either through table or plank. And then you can either find child's pose, or if you'd like, you can take a downward facing dog. So I'm going to get ready for down dog. Bringing the hands a little forward of the shoulders. You can tuck the toes under and press the hips up and back, lengthening through the spine for downward facing dog. You might take a moment to pedal your heels towards the mat, gently sashaying the hips a little side to side. And then whenever you're ready, we'll walk our feet to our hands or our hands towards our feet and come into a forward fold. You can walk your feet a little wider than hips distance if you need to make a little space to rest your belly. And then you might wrap your hands around your opposite elbows and gently ragdoll here side to side. Go ahead and shake your head no. And nod your head yes. And then we'll release the hands back down. And you can glide the hands up onto the shins or above the knees onto your thighs and press into your legs as you inhale to lift halfway, lengthening through the spine. Exhale to forward fold. And then inhale, we'll glide ourselves up to standing, rolling the spine up one vertebrae at a time. And then once you arrive, you can inhale to reach the arms up overhead. Exhale to bring the hands to the heart center. Inhale to reach the arms up and overhead. And this time, go ahead and wrap your right hand around your left wrist, and we'll reach it over to the right, finding a little side bend. I did not mirror you guys, which is why I'm in the opposite direction. Then we'll go back to center, wrap your opposite hand around your wrist, and then reach it over to the side. Maybe gaze upward at your hands. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, bring the hands into cactus arms. And you might exhale through the mouth for lion's breath. Inhale to reach the arms up. And then exhale, you can glide the hands to the heart center. We're going to take chair pose next. So you might bring your feet a little bit more together, about hips width distance. And then with your next exhale, go ahead and sink the hips back, draw the belly towards the spine. And you might keep your hands at your heart center, or on your next inhale, float them up past the ears. You can stay right here, or on your next exhale, float the hands back and maybe lift onto the balls of the toes for drinking bird. Inhale to lower the heels, lifting the hands. Exhale for drinking bird. Inhale back to chair. And exhale. One more drinking bird. Inhale, we'll rise to stand through center. Exhale, you can bring the hands to the heart center and release your hands to your sides for mountain pose. Take a moment to close down the eyes or soften the gaze down towards the edge of your mat. Allow the shoulders to release away from the ears. And come back to your intention for a moment. And then with your next inhale, you can flutter the eyes open and we'll reach the fingertips out wide to the sides. On the next exhale, you can wrap your right hand over the top of your left. Give yourself a nice big hug, feeling the breath all along the spine and the back body. You can always stay here with your hands in a hug, or you might wrap your arms like eagle arms. And then go ahead and sink into that chair, maybe a really gentle version. You don't have to go very deep here. And you might play around with balance for eagle pose. So you can stay right here, or you might begin to peel your left heel off of the mat, sending your weight into your right leg. Once more, you're welcome to stay at any place all along this journey, realizing that each pose is infinite. Maybe you lift that left leg and wrap it around the right leg. Just find a soft, gentle gaze. With your next inhale, we'll unwrap, step the feet wide, and shake it off. Allowing your arms to gently graze your sides. And when you're ready, we'll come back to center and then find your strong, steady mountain pose. You might take a moment to close down the eyes, really sink into your feet here. Feel the attachment of your feet to the ground. And then with your next inhale, flutter the eyes open and you can reach the arms out wide to the sides. You're going to give someone a nice big hug. So imagine someone you haven't been able to give a hug to for a while. And imagine you're going to embrace them, this time wrapping the left arm over the top. And just give that nice big hug. You might close down the eyes, maybe even rock a little side to side. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to stillness, and you can always keep your hands like this, or you might try to wrap your arms for eagle arms, and you can stay right here or begin to sink into your chair. You can stay here or explore balance, rooting down through your left foot, maybe peeling the right heel off of the mat. And if you'd like to explore balance a little more, you might go ahead and wrap the right leg around the left. Find a soft gaze here. Allow for a smooth, steady breath. And then whenever you feel ready, you can unwind, step out the feet wide, and allow yourself to shake it off. When you're ready, we'll come back to stillness, and then we'll find mountain pose at the top of our mats. When you're ready, we can inhale to reach the arms up overhead. Exhale this time to swan dive forward, leading with your heart. We'll inhale for halfway lift, pressing the palms into the shins, lengthening the spine forward. Exhale to forward fold. And then you can plant the palms and walk your feet back, either tabletop or downward facing dog. Take a few rounds of breath. You can also find a child's pose if that feels more nurturing for you today. And then whenever you're ready, we'll meet up in hands and knees. And you can walk the knees forward, coming onto your seat. We'll bring the feet out in front, and then you can reach the hands out long. This is a version of boat pose. If you want to play around a little bit with boat pose and balance, you can bring your hands to the back of your thighs, and maybe you start to sink back to find balance, lifting through the heart. You could also extend your hands, extend your feet. Remember, there's a lot of different variations, so whichever works best for you. Let's come back to our feet on the mat now, and we'll extend the arms out in front. So you're like you have a stop sign, and then go ahead and slide your hands back so your palms are resting underneath your shoulders. You can walk your heels in, and then if you'd like, you can stay here, or on your next inhale, we'll lift the hips to come into altar pose. Maybe you send your gaze towards your navel, up towards the sky, or you could allow the gaze to fall behind you. On your next exhale, we'll gently lower the hips back down, walk the feet a little bit out in front, reach the arms forward, and then gently allow yourself to cascade down onto your back. Once you arrive on your back, you can draw your knees in towards your chest, give yourself a little hug, And then maybe walk your hands up onto your shins to the knife edge of your feet, or wrap your fingers around your big toes for happy baby pose. Allow yourself to gently rock a little side to side if that feels good. Sometimes I like to anchor onto one knee onto the ground and extend the opposite leg long. So you might allow your right knee to touch down, extend your left leg long, and then rock it over to the other side. Touch the left knee down, extend the right leg long. Allow the edges of your mouth to curl up into a smile, seeing yourself as this little happy baby. And then, because this is your very own practice, if you know there are other poses that you just love and we hadn't gotten to them in class, you want to explore those, you're welcome to take a moment before our final resting pose to explore any other shapes. One I might suggest while you're on your back is a reclined butterfly shape. So you can bring your feet to touch, open your knees up wide. Allow your arms to either rest at your sides, or you might rest your hands on your belly, allowing yourself a moment to tune into the breath, feeling the rise and fall of your breath. You're welcome to stay in this reclined butterfly for as long as feels good to you. Or maybe you get ready for your final resting pose, Shavasana, corpse pose. Extending your legs long on your mat, allowing your arms to rest gently at your sides. We'll take a moment to revisit our intentions for our practice today. So coming back to the heart center, find that seed of intention and imagine that it's like a glowing marble. With each inhale, allow the bright light, whatever color it appears to you, to grow brighter, filling up the whole body and glowing all around you. And take a moment to zoom yourself out into the cosmos. Notice that little bright, glowing body that is you. And just cultivate an awe and an amazement for the miracle that is this time and place, this unique time, this unique place, this moment that has never happened before and will never happen the same way again. And then I'll just close us off with a little reading, another reading from Deborah Adele's book, The Yamas and the Niyamas. The guideline of Svadhyaya invites us to not shut the unpleasant parts of ourselves away, but to carry them with kindness and compassion, knowing that God lives there too. I remember when Gandhi was interviewed by a reporter who asked him if he ever got incensed and outraged at his oppressors. Gandhi solemnly replied that no, he didn't, because he knew what existed in the interior landscape of his own being. He was not afraid to look at the fullness of emotions inside of himself. And because of that fearless act of witnessing his inner being, he was able to maintain courage, rooted in kindness and compassion. Gandhi knew that denial cuts us off from the full reality of ourselves. There is a Cherokee story in which the grandfather is explaining to his grandson that two animals live inside his heart, a wolf and a lamb. When the grandson asks what he is to do, the grandfather replies, "Feed the lamb." We can choose to grow ourselves into someone more compassionate and kind to both ourselves and to others. We must be willing to look at the selfishness and greed and anger that lies in us, but feed the greatness. You can take a moment to allow all of your thoughts to gently dissipate, imagining them like clouds passing overhead. Allowing yourself to feel supported by the earth as you feel it rise to meet you, offering you abundance, allowing you to relax your effort, smoothing out the forehead, softening through the eyelids, relaxing the hinge of your jaw, allowing your shoulders to rest heavy. You can begin to deepen your breath now. Take a moment to imagine with each inhale that your heart center is able to grow in all directions, increasing your capacity to give and to receive love from your heart. Start to invite some gentle movement into your fingers, wiggling your toes. You can rotate your wrists and your ankles. And then take a long body stretch, inhaling to reach your hands up past your ears. And then whenever you're ready, you can roll onto one side and find yourself in a fetal position. Maybe you rest your head on your biceps. You can pause here for 2 more rounds of breath. And then allowing yourself to move at your own pace, in your own time, and in your own way. You can press yourself up into a seat. I invite you to bring your hands to your heart center. Allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. It's such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your own practice today. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. Namaste. And as I mentioned, I'm Micki. And if you have any questions or thoughts about class, feel free to let me know. I'm just going to say goodbye to my Zoomers here.